We've been talking about this with Alina for a while. And I'll tell you why in my personal testimony, why I think it's so powerful and so incredible. So I want to thank Helena and Jay, first of all, for just all the behind the scenes work that they do to put this thing together and then come up with the games and the different ideas and then implementing them. And so we would not have, what we have in this Rosary group if it wasn't for them too. So I want to thank them. I want to thank all of you because I just feel like we're a family. God's really, and my whole thing is, part of my testimony that I was thinking about what can I call it, and to me it's nothing more and nothing more simple than God's got his hand on this thing, all over it. God's all over this. There's no doubt about it in my mind. God's got his hand on this Rosary group, on our spiritual family. He's completely leading us on this, and he's got a purpose and he's got a plan to everything that he does. We don't always understand it, and that's the part I struggle with. Sometimes I get mad or why are you doing this to me? Why is this happening? But God's got a plan every time. We have to have faith in that. And I know that because of my walk to Christ. And my testimony is real simple. There's a book out there before I start. I don't know if you guys have read it already, but it could be a book of the month if we want. It's called The Purpose-Driven Life. You guys might have read it, you might have not. It's from a man called Rick Warren, who's a pastor. And he lost his son, I think by suicide many years ago. And it's just been a complete revolution of his life. And he wrote this book called The Purpose-Driven Life. It's an incredible book. There's a whole story behind how many lives this actual book has saved. It's an incredible book. And I think about that book when I think about my testimony, that God's got a purpose. So, I started in Catholic school, and I bring that up because there was some good and some bad from Catholic school. The bad in Catholic school for me, this is my personal, no one has to agree with this, but it's my personal experience. In Catholic school, my bad part of it was in theology, which if you guys went to Catholic school, we all had theology class. They would teach about world religions and they would teach a little bit about Jesus, but never really dived into scripture, never really got into why we're with God. So there was no substance there in theology. So everybody just kind of goofed around in theology, honestly, guys, okay? And then the good of Catholic school was the music. I started music in grade 9 there, and I joined the concert choir, the stage choir, the 3 bands, all kinds of stuff. But part of our mark, and this was a genius part of our music teacher, I don't know if you can do it today, okay, in Catholic school, but they can do what they wanted back then, but in Catholic school back then, he made our music teacher both the instrumental music and the vocal. If you want to have a better grade, 5 to 10% every year would be attending Mass. You come to Mass every Sunday, you sing or you play your guitar or whatever it is, and you get the extra 10% of your mark. Would be if you miss Mass, you're gonna get 10% mark docked off your mark. So it was really kind of an incentive. So we went to Mass every Sunday and sang pretty well. There were Sundays that we missed, and it just got me in the spirit of Mass and singing in Mass. And I really believe that was God already calling on me because it really saved me at the end of the day. Just that Mass every week and being there and just the spirit and the energy that was in the Mass with Father Doran. I remember the priest who's passed away now. He actually married me, Father Doran, believe it or not. So that was so great. And the best part for me, guys, the best part of high school was the retreats. Our teachers would take us on retreats, and it wasn't always the theology teachers. One time was the home ec teacher who just had such a connection with the kids. She took us on a retreat over a weekend. We do different things, and it'd be Albion Hills, sometimes it'd be outdoor stuff. But the best part of the retreat, and this is what's bringing me back to testimony, the best part of the retreat was Saturday night. And we did this every year that I was in high school. Saturday night, they called it like an open night. And you basically sat in a circle. There was about 40, 50 kids of your friends that you went to high school with. And it would just be talk about your life. If anybody wants to talk about anything that's bothering them or anything that's kind of like really on their mind or on their heart, or something they just want to ask a question about, anything goes. And guys, it would be an all-nighter. We'd go till 4 or 5 in the morning, and it would turn into a cry fest. It was because these kids were talking about us. We're talking about our testimonies. We're talking about what's going on with our families, or separation of our parents, or it was just incredible. And it had such a profound effect on me. I still remember it today. I still get chills talking about being in that room with my friends and some people I didn't know at all from high school that were having problems and you had no idea, and this testimony. So that was great about high school. But after high school, after I graduated high school, I became that statistic that Father Mario, if you ever hear Father Mario talk about confirmation and talk about high school, he says, we lose a lot of kids after confirmation, and we especially lose them after high school. I was one of those kids. And I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't kind of like say, oh, I'm done with you, Jesus. That's it. It was always been in my heart, but I put him on the back burner and I walked away and I started my life and I tried to control my life. I tried to do, I did all kinds of things, joined bands and rock bands and all kinds of things, thinking that I had to give glory to myself. Nobody was more important than me. I'm the king. I'm the big guy. Like all that stuff, right? Walked away from Christ, and walking away from Christ, I had a lot of good things going for me, but I had this bit of emptiness, and I didn't know what it was. I just did not know what it was, and the whole time, during those years, it was a good. See, Cassandra was 2 or 1 when I started, so it had to be probably about 10 years that I just never went to mass, never saw any kind of program, never listened to. I didn't know Christian music existed. All I knew was rock music and pop 40 and stuff. I didn't know Christian music existed. So I walked away, and then, God's so good. What really got me going again was that my daughter, my youngest child, she's not 25, believe it or not, but we had to go to baptize her. They had to do one mandatory class to come to baptism class. That back then it was at St. David's, and you had to come to one class, and it was, believe it or not, a parishioner, okay, a layman that ran that class. It wasn't a priest, it wasn't an associate priest, it was a layman, and it was a parishioner. I don't remember his name. It was an older gentleman. There was about 40 of us, 20 couples, 22 couples in that room preparing for baptism for their child. And he just talked for about an hour. And he talked like a Father Mario would. Direct, maybe controversial, maybe not the most favorite talk, so I can see some parents murmuring to each other, right? But he talked directly. And the whole bulk of the talk, the nucleus of the talk was, when was the last time you talked to God? When was the last time, forget about mass, and that's all good. But when's the last time you ever really just had an intimate relationship with God? Christ is calling on you. And I felt like with those 40 people in that room, he was talking directly to me. I thought, is this guy like, does he know my heart or what's going on? And that from there, I couldn't sleep that night based on his talk. One person that Christ put in that room for me that night to talk to me. I couldn't sleep that night. I made a decision next morning, I'm going to start going to mass. I have to start something. So I started going to St. David's. And here's another part of my testimony you guys need to know. And again, I'm just giving you my experience. Went to St. David's, okay, I went with my wife, and we went to mass, went through the homily. We went about 3 or 4 weeks in a row. And the priest that was there, God bless him, I heard he went to Rome after, wasn't the best communicator. And so his homilies didn't have any substance. And it's very important to me that you communicate, especially to people that have walked away or people that don't know Christ yet. That you communicate in a way and you bring it down a little bit to their level so they can come to Christ. And for me, I would walk away from mass and I wouldn't get anything from it. Nothing. So now I'm questioning everything. I'm saying, okay, so I feel this thing pulling at me, God. I'm going to mass, but I'm not getting anything. And back then, everybody, I didn't know all the things we can do today. I just thought, okay, if you're a good Catholic, you go to mass. That's what you do. Go to mass, you pray, you take the Eucharist, you pray, do a couple of prayers, you go home and you feel better about yourself. That's basically being a good Catholic. Again, where the system failed a little bit. That's why I think this Rosary group is so important. And so I didn't get anything out of it. And I was kind of like giving up and going, what do I do now? Maybe I'll find another church. Maybe that's it. I'll find another church. Not knowing what church, not knowing where to go. And this is where God completely just worked on me. Christ just said, you know what? I want you, my child. I want you with me. And so I was in my business. I had an associate, and he went to a funeral home because one of our reps' grandmother died. He went to the funeral home, And he came back and he said, he couldn't believe what happened to me at the funeral home last night. Right? This is the next day at the office. And I go, what? He goes, I met this priest, Father Morello. And he came in and did the last prayer, but the night before the funeral. And there was about 20 of us in the room. And he said he did a little talk with us. I said, what did he say? He said, regular Father Morello talk that we know now today, right? Like if you're in this room and you're saying a prayer and you haven't been to mass or you haven't, why are you praying? And he just talked directly to everybody. Like it was a very direct Father Morello talk. And he said after that, he goes, listen, he goes, if any of you are going through anything that you need to talk to me, just here's my address, give me a call, come to the church. Okay, and back then I believe he was at St. Margaret Mary, I think, okay, on Islington. He goes, come to the church, come talk to me. And my friend that told me about this was going through a very, very difficult separation with his wife at that time. And he was having some really rough nights. And he followed Father Morello that night back to the church. And he sat and he talked with him, and he says it was incredible. So he piqued my interest in this priest I've never heard of before. That he says he's about our age, Sandro. And so I go, okay, where is he? And he says he's at Margaret Mary. So the very next Sunday Mass, I went, and Margaret Mary is on Islington and Langstaff. So you have an older Woodbridge population, okay? And I can't believe, like at the first Mass I went to Father Morello, here I'm listening to him, he's doing his homily, and his whole homily was about statues. And he talked about, he's got older Italians for the most part of the parishioners. And he's talking about these statues. He says, so listen, I noticed, this is Father Morello talking to, I noticed that when you were coming in the church, you were kissing statues. You're kissing St. Thomas over there, you were kissing St. Peter over here, very good St. Joseph right here, beautiful, all revered saints. I think that's wonderful. But why don't you kiss him? And he goes like this, why aren't you kissing him? He's the man of the hour. He's the VIP of this room. Why aren't you kissing him? He gave up his life for you. And he's talking this way. And I can see these Italians. I'm looking around. Well, I love this guy. He's so direct, right? Looking at these Italians, and they're all like getting offended almost, right? So I knew he was stirring the pot. And I knew he was on the right movement where he wants to stir people and he wants to move people, just get them thinking, get their hearts moving. And he moved my heart. And then from that moment on, I started going to Mass over there every week. Then I heard he left. He was only there for a year. Then I heard they brought him to Barry. So I wasn't going to drive to Barry. So I go, okay. And then I heard that he went to a couple of other churches for a couple of stints. And then he ended up at St. Joseph the Worker. So me following Father Morello and going, I haven't been to a Mass as good as Father Morello's. For me personally, I started going to St. Joseph every Sunday, 1 o'clock Mass, and saw this beautiful band and choir singing songs I've never heard of. I didn't even know that these songs existed. And I started really getting into the spirit, and slowly making my walk back. And Christ knew the whole time, this is how he had to bring me back a little bit at a time, the way that I needed to come back. But he stirred something in me, and I was a refugee. I walked away from the church. And so one Sunday, this is where I just get completely like, God's got his hand all over this, okay? One Sunday, they're doing announcements after Mass. They said, the band is looking for a bass player. Okay, guys, I haven't picked up an instrument in probably, 15 years at that time, because my kids were 1 year old out in the last band I played at. The drama of being in bands never went away. It was like, this person's mad at that person, not talking behind that person. This person's the VIP of the band. And it was just always a mess. And when my kids were 1, I said, I got kids now. I don't have time for this drama. If anything, I'll just play my own instrument by myself. I don't need it. I stepped away for 15 years. Going back to this announcement, I said, okay, I feel like playing. I haven't played in 15 years. I want to play with a band. This looks like a good thing to do. It makes me come to Mass every Sunday for sure. And so they gave me a number. I called the office, gave me a number of the person to call. And I called that person. He said, oh, yeah, that's great. He says, can you come to my house and just do a little audition with me? And I said, sure. Yeah. Went to his house, got to know each other. We did a couple of songs. He says, I love you. Yeah. Can you come Sunday? Blah, blah, blah. And we started that way. And I just started in the back of the band, just playing bass, just doing my thing. And, I didn't know this. 2 weeks later, the guy that recruited me in the band in Gen Faith left because there was some kind of falling out in the band a month before that. And there was a lot of friction, a lot of stuff, and he decided to leave. So 2 weeks before he leaves, the guy that recruited me in Gen Faith is no longer at that church. Okay. So God made sure that I was there at that mass to make sure that I listened to that thing and pulled something on me to go call this guy and say, okay, let's, right? So now we're in Gen Faith. Okay. Gen Faith now, we started just one group. Now Gen Faith has 3 groups. Okay. And we've got so many members now, and it's growing like crazy. And again, it's all led by God. God's got his hand all over that because we're only messengers for God, right? So that in mind, start going to St. Joseph. And then Father Morello, after years at St. Joseph, as you know, goes to St. Pete's. And we end up at St. Pete's because the band's just too big. And we end up serving at St. Pete's. And we see the growth starting to happen. We see what Father Morello and Vlad did at St. Joseph with the great parishioners that are there that are still continuing with Monsignor. What's going on there is wonderful. Okay. We're seeing that growth starting to happen at St. Pete's as well. And I want to be part of that, And so for us, for Father Mary, so the Rosary group. So now from Gen Faith and St. Joseph, I'm at St. Pete's. The Rosary group, this is incredible. I started a little rosary with the band when the pandemic started. And we started a rosary on Zoom. And, it was just like 5 of us, on any given, and it went from 5 to 4 to 3. And I tried to keep it going. And I kept sending out emails to the band members and everything else. And every night it'd be 3 or 4 people, and it turned into like not really a rosary, it turned into more of a talk after we did the rosary, but then it'd be a talk and we don't know what we're talking about. And it did not go well. But now I look back at that and I say, God was preparing me to be part of a group. It just wasn't that group. I was very discouraged when the rosary kind of fell off and then really nothing happened after about 2 weeks, 3 weeks of doing it. And I said, I missed that. I missed doing the rosary. And then Vlad made an announcement about Kiana and her cancer. And he said, listen, if you want to pray for her, you go to the website. There's a link there that you can join our rosary group from our church. I said, there's a rosary group at this church? I have no idea. But it was go, and I joined. To pray for Kiana, and Alina didn't say anything to me or Jay, or I didn't know them. They just were part of this rosary group. And I joined because I wanted to pray for Kiana. And here we are, with this wonderful spiritual family that God has a purpose for. And I believe all of you are wonderful, amazing people. And I believe God's got his hand on us because he wants us, to grow. There's in the movie, in the show, The Chosen, I remember this line in particular. I think it was at the end of season 2, where Jesus says to it wasn't one of his disciples. He was talking to somebody. He says, "Oh, it was the father of Saint Thomas, Saint Thomas's wife, I believe it was, when he was giving up his daughter to go follow Jesus with Thomas." And he said to him, he goes, I know that I ask a lot of my followers, like a lot. And it makes me think about the closer we get to God, for me personally, and you guys might experience this too. And I hope that this is the beginning of us doing a testimony, and we all have turns. I know that Randolph's going next week and Mike's going the week after. I'm looking so forward to that. And this can turn into something where when we say a testimony, guys, it's not for us. I think God wants us to do it because there might be somebody out there that needs to hear it. There might be someone else. We're serving him by helping someone else. And I believe at the end of the day, I really believe God's got us together because he wants us to help him bring more souls to him. Because guys, all I've seen since my walk with God has got closer and closer, how many people are away from him? How many people have walked away from him? And my own testimony includes my family. My family are great. They're wonderful, wonderful family. They're good kids. I'm blessed to have my children. I'm blessed to have my wife. I'm blessed to have my family, my business, everything. But my kids don't practice. They don't go to church. I don't even think they believe. I'm working on one right now. You know, one of my oldest, by a minute, Johnny, he was a minute older than his brother. And, you know, I'm slowly, but it's got to be at his pace. But I know that God wants me to bring him closer to him. And this is why he's put me here. You know, my wife's parents, my in-laws would go to mass every Sunday. Yet my wife won't go to mass. And I can't do anything about that, but be a great example and do and pray for them and lead the way. And that's what I believe God wants us to do, to bring more souls to him, especially the ones that don't know him and the ones that have walked away from him. And so many Catholics have walked away. And the ones that haven't walked away, you got a bunch more. They're the casual Catholics. We know them all, guys, right? The ones that Easter is when you go to mass. Christmas is when you go to mass. You know, besides that, you say a little sign of the cross before you eat on Christmas Eve, and everything's good. You know, my life's good. Those are the casual Catholics, you know? And the closer, I don't know if you guys are experiencing it, the closer we walk with God, the more the enemy is attacking us, trying to discourage us, trying to, you know, especially as we're fasting, we're going through, all of us are going through different cycles of craziness as we're fasting, you know, and I believe that's the enemy. Helene and I talk about this a lot too. I believe it's the enemy working on us. So I came back to God because that's where God wanted me to be. And he did it in a way that worked for me, because he didn't come and say, you know what, if you don't come to me now, you're damned to hell. He just said, I love you, you know, and I want you to be part of this community. I want you to be part of this church. I want you to be part of this group. I want you to be part of these people so that you can minister, you can serve, and we can bring more souls to heaven. And that's basically where I'm at, guys. So I just want to say, you know, I hope I didn't take too long. I just feel it's a blessing for us to be together. I don't know what's God has in store for us next, but I do know that we're going to do some incredible things together. I already know there's going to be things this summer that if we pull them off, you know, I hope that we bring more and more people to Christ. So God bless you guys, and thanks for hearing me out. Thank you. You can unmute yourselves now if you want.
Thank you, Sandro.
Amen.
Wow,
Thank
awesome.
you.
Thank you so much.
Amen. That was
Thank
so
you.
awesome.
Beautiful.
That was
Thank you.
excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
hope to hear. I hope. Hey, everybody! I hope to hear from more people. I hope to hear. I hope all of us, or as many of us, can do their test. I would love to hear yours, and I think all the rest of us would as well, because I know some of you, I can see it, must have a great testimony, and we would love to hear it. You know, I'm looking forward to Randolph's next week. I'm looking forward to Helena's and Jay's. You know, no pressure, guys, but I'm looking forward to those.
Good job, Sandro.
Be awesome.
Sandro,
Honestly,
can I just say something? It's Mike. So
Yeah, Mike.
yeah. So Sandro, you know, obviously listening to your whole testimony, and I'm going to say this with sincere genuineness, in a very positive way, and I'm going to be like totally transparent with you. So, you know what, we joined a couple of months ago, and you know, doing this, and you know, I don't know you from just the band, really. That's where I know you from, St. Joseph the Worker. And I think, you know, I don't know if you remember, but my family and we would always sit in the front. I would lecture.
I do remember, Mike. Yes.
Yeah, we remember you, Mike.
Oh, do you?
Remember?
Okay.
I remember, Mike. Hold on, Mike. We did a song, 10,000 Reasons, I think, and you said, "Man, that's one of my favorite songs," or
I
something.
love that too. My favorite.
Right.
That's what I
too.
remember about you. Oh my gosh. Okay.
That's
Awesome.
the good-looking guy reading the.
Yes. Yes, that's right, Fidello.
Who cannot remember?
So let me finish
Recognize.
my compliment. Let me finish my compliment before you guys have to compliment me. Thank you. So again, and I mean this with total genuineness and positive, like what a role model you are, and to hear, and again, to be totally transparent, we've been doing this for months. You know, I'm here with my family, and I've always seen you, right, dedicated every night. You're there, but you're there alone, right? You're there alone, and now the context of your journey, and the context around your family, how your kids currently aren't practicing, and how you're adamant and you've got this passion to get them in, and how your wife's parents and your in-laws have been very faithful, but your wife isn't. So that gives me the context around why it is that you're coming alone. But I just want you to know, Sandro, because sincerely, I mean, I'm saying this with tears in my eyes, because I feel for you, and I know how hard it must be for you. And so I'm gonna pray with all my heart. I know all of us here are gonna pray with all our hearts
God bless you,
that
buddy.
your sons and your wife, that they're gonna see like what a symbol of strength that you are, and they're gonna come around, and this Rosary group is gonna stay around as long as it's gonna take for your kids and your wife to be on the camera with you one day. I'm telling you right now.
Thank you, buddy. God bless you. Thank you.
Same prayer for me, Mike.
you,
Same
Crystal.
prayer
Yeah,
for
praying for
me.
you.
God bless you,
Sandro.
buddy.
you.
Right,
Thank you.
Sandro, you're always in my prayers.
Thank you, Sally.
There's
Thank you.
power in prayers, right? That's why we're
That's
all
right.
here together,
Yeah.
too, right?
100%.
I share the same path Sandro
Thank you.
shares.
Yeah.
So pray for me too.
Oh, we want to hear your, hey, Crystal, I hope we hear your testimony one day. I pray that we do.
It's so similar, Sandro. It's
Well, one
scary.
day, if you feel comfortable, and again, Crystal, I believe God, Helena, when she had a meeting with Randolph and I, she says, Sandro, do you want, I never volunteer. When Helena says, Sandro, do you want to do the first one? I feel like that's God talking through Helena to me saying, Sandro, you gonna do the
Go
first
for
one?
it.
It's very
Yeah.
good.
Right.
I'm so
God.
happy.
And I'm like, okay,
Things will change, Sandro, for you. Don't worry.
thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm faithful.
Thank you, Sandro. It's
Yeah.
been wonderful to hear your journey,
Thank you.
because
Right.
it is a story that I hear every day, almost from every family.
Yeah.
My own
Very
family,
common.
it's the same. I mean, my son doesn't go to church. A person who went to church every day, right?
Yeah.
And everyone since Peter and Paul knew him, who he was, and knew my kind of family, but things happen. And as you see, after confirmation, they drop out, but my son continued, but can't say that. But I can feel your pain as what you go through when you say your family doesn't go to church, and God will bring them to you back, because if you are a believer, he's going to lead them through you.
Okay.
And that is what I believe all the time, that there's in the Ecclesiastic, it says there's a time for everything.
What John Baptist said today.
So it will happen. It will happen. Just stay strong. And we are here for each of us to pray for one another, because
Thank you.
every family has that, right? Every
Yeah.
family.
Oh, I know
And-
you're right. There's the dysfunction and there's
We
brokenness.
all
in
have
the
same
family.
things.
You're
We have
absolutely
same
right.
problems,
Yeah.
but one thing,
Yeah, thank you.
did you
Today-
listen to one of my favorite priests, Father John Battio? What you said is absolutely what he mentioned. Go and talk to him. Don't do anything. Talk to Jesus.
Yeah.
Yes.
What you said is
Yeah.
correct. And today he was there, and I don't like to miss him and Father Michael Kutz. And there's one Father German priest who's sick, has not been coming. So
What
I
did
wait
John
to listen.
Baptist say?
No, but what John Battio said, you know what, you come over here, do all
Berto,
this,
yeah.
but just talk to God. Just talk to Jesus. He's
You
there.
don't have to pray, so just talk to him.
Look at him.
Yeah. Oh,
You
yeah.
are sitting down in the corner in your own room. Just sit down. We all have the same problem. Our children used to go to church, and now they're all
Not all, only
not
one.
only one.
Only one.
And the guy used to visit the Blessed Sacrament and do all those things.
A
But now,
staunch Catholic.
staunch Catholic.
It turned in
I
a
know.
twist during the COVID.
Yeah.
And the problem is because when you
can't talk to him
don't,
about Bible, what we are doing Bible in a year.
He-
We actually were doing some ransacking because he wanted something, and we found the same thing that he had done, Bible in a year. Oh my
He
God.
did everything. He's so good at the
So
Bible.
don't worry, it's a testimony we can later.
We will tell our story later.
Yes, I want to hear it. We want to hear it.
No,
Absolutely.
don't worry, it'll happen.
It
Today,
will happen.
that's what I was telling Sally. Did you listen to Father John Battio today? He's a Portuguese priest, lovely guy.
Well, guys, on one more note, just so you know, like I'm always a pest with Helena, and I've been pitching her a few ideas. And one of the ideas is, at Mary Lake this year, or Regina Mundi, once or twice during the summer on a beautiful day, we do a whole day retreat where we'll start with the Rosary.
oh, that'd be
with
awesome.
the Stations of the Cross. We'll have a couple of testimonies, and the whole idea of that, I said to Helena, is, let's bring some ourselves, of course, family members, absolutely, but maybe those people that have walked away, maybe a Sandro, or a child or whatever, that, or someone that doesn't know Christ, and make it a fun day, and make
To
it a day
bring a
of music.
busload of people.
Exactly, and you know what, guys, I'll
I
tell you
wish.
something. Testimonies, and I'm looking so forward to hearing yours, with Randolph and Mike and whoever. Because testimonies, they pull at the heart, because it's God speaking to those people through you with your testimony. That's what I believe, right? And testimonies will bring people closer to God. Especially people that have strayed away. So that's what we hopefully have in plan for the summer, where we'll do something like that, and it's just going to be a great day of prayer and retreat, and
And music.
chaplet. It's going to be amazing.
And music and song.
of
We're gonna
course.
sing
Of course.
music.
Music will be all over it. Absolutely. Right?
Praying twice.
So thank you, Helena, again.
Thank you,
so
Sandro.
much,
It was
Sandro.
nice.
Sandro.
Have a nice
Sandro.
evening.
Good job,
Thank you so
Fatelo.
much.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.